Welcome to the Pitt Post-Game Show from the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette. We're your hosts, Chris Carter and Noah Hiles, your Pitt beat reporters here from the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette. As always, you can find the show in your favorite podcasting apps and on YouTube. Like this video if you enjoy it. Subscribe to this channel to get all of the daily content that comes out from all of our Post-Gazette, beat writers that cover all things sports here. And a reminder, this show is brought to you by Mike's Beer Bar, the best bar in all of Pittsburgh. Go to Mike's Beer Bar for 500 different available beers. 300 of those beers are local. 80 of those local beers available on tap. And Noah, Pitt fans might want to drink a lot of those beers after this one. They were clobber. Was it 91 to 53?
58.
I think that was a 58.
No, yeah.
That is as bad of a loss as we've seen all this season.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like a lot of Pitt fans are going to wake up Wednesday morning and they're going to say, I had this horrible nightmare that Pitt lost by 30 on the road to a team it beat 3 weeks ago.
Yep.
I mean, my God, Carter, I just remember thinking at halftime, this team was down 10 the last time it played Wake Forest, and it came back and won. And it was down 12 at half, but I was just like, something just feels different. Like, they should be losing by a lot more than 12 right now. And I was kind of waiting for the dam to break. And boy, did it. I mean, a 19-4 run to open the second half. I'll say this about Jeff Capel's teams. I mean, even in the bad years, effort's never really been a huge problem. Like, I feel like, I don't know, maybe all the bad years, there were some years where I feel like groups gave up, but in recent years, in the ugly losses that we've seen, Michigan last year, the backyard brawl last year, Florida this year.
Duke game this year, yeah.
Yeah, the first Duke game. Like, they kept fighting. I don't know if you could say that about – I don't know if you could say that 5 Panthers on the floor at the same time were collectively fighting together in the second half tonight. I think that this one just got away from them, and it got way out of hand.
Certainly. What was your good, if there was any good to there? You're there in Winston-Salem covering this game.
I mean, Ishmael Leggett was really good. Like,
he was very efficient.
He was a good. I mean, it wasn't like a good for like the standard of the game either. Like, he had 15 points. He shot 50% from the field. He's 3 of 5 from 3. 3 rebounds. I mean, he turned the ball over once, 1 assist. But I mean, Ishmael Leggett is quite literally the only guy on the team who played the way he has been playing the last month. Everyone else, I mean, maybe you could make exceptions for like Guillermo, but like not many other people played anywhere close to the level they had been playing over the last 30 days. And, when one of your 8 guys plays to his potential, you're typically not going to win, especially in a building where the home team is now 14-0. So that's my good. What's yours, Carter?
The offensive rebounding for Pitt was really strong and gave them a chance to come back if they could have hit any of their shots. So that's the other part of this. Pitt shot 29%. That's the worst shooting percentage they've had. Yeah. They've had all season. They also allowed 61%. That's the worst field goal. That's the best rate that they've allowed all season. So you got the worst shooting and the best shooting from your opponent in the same game, and a 30-point loss is going to be the result there. But Guillermo Diaz-Graham led this. He had 8 rebounds, 6 of them offense, and they won offensive rebounding 16-8. The problem is they only got 18 second chance points off of those offensive rebounds. On the flip side, Wake Forest got 11 points off of 8 rebounds. So you're talking about 5 less points despite having twice as many offensive rebounds for Pitt. That's just indicative of the problems they had on offense with shooting. I'll also say this is my good is offensive rebounding. I also think that Jaland Lowe didn't have a bad game. He didn't shoot great. He was 4 of 13, but he had 4 assists and no turnovers. I thought that there were several possessions that he managed for Pitt. And if Pitt shot well, he might have had like 13 assists because there were several good passes he gave and guys just missed open shots.
And I'll even add on, early on, he was lights out from the floor. And once Wake Forest realized, okay, he's the only person making shots for this team right now, they started to kind of take him out of the picture. And that's where Leggett really got going after that. But yeah, I would agree that, Lowe was fine. Leggett was good. But my God, just seeing the things that you highlighted where the offense was the worst it's been all season. The defense was the worst it's been all season. It's like I have a friend who broke his arm when he had COVID, And that's kind of like what it is. It's like all the bad things are happening at once. And that's kind of what happened at Pitt, right? To Pitt right now.
Broke his arm while he had
he had COVID and then like fell down and broke his arm. And it's like, yeah, that's kind of what reminded me of Pitt this evening. I mean, he's fine now. He's recovered from both. Okay. There's no long-term effect from either thing that happened to him in that instance. And hopefully Pitt doesn't have any long-term effects from this one either.
Certainly. What's your bad from this game?
Everything. No, the single out one, and I don't want to make it sound like I'm picking on this guy because I'm not. Obviously, he's had a very, very good season, but Bub Carrington was very bad today. And I texted it to Carter early in this game. I said, yeah, I think it was like during the first media timeout. I said
it was the first media timeout. You said it's a bad night for Bub.
I said it's going to be a bad night for Bub. I can already tell. And we saw a lot of the things that he was doing in December and January, early January, where just bad shot selection, just doing too much. His drives to the baseline, it felt like there was no plan at times.
Yeah.
He was just driving and he would pick his head up and there was no one to pass the ball to. And sometimes he threw the ball to that no one. He just threw it to an open space and it got away. And I don't know how many turnovers he had. I don't think there were a ton. I mean, he had 3. So, I mean, it was just bad decisions with the basketball, bad decisions shooting. I thought his defense was, for lack of a better word, kind of a little lazy tonight. I think there were times where he wasn't closing out. Which I know you're going to get into a little bit more from the team perspective. But, and again, I don't want to sit here and make it sound like I'm really coming after a freshman here. I'm not. Like, Bub Carrington is a very, very good basketball player. He just was really bad today. And Pitt needs him to be better if it's going to recover from this.
No, I agree. They need to be better. My bad is the perimeter defense. This was the worst perimeter defense Pitt's had all season. 50% allowed as far as 3-point shooting. 10 of 20 Wake Forest was, and that was also kind of boosted a little bit, or I guess brought down a little bit because of they took a couple like late shots that they didn't need to take just to kind of they were messing around at the end of the game. So that it was really more like a 55-ish% before they took some of those shots. But point being, Pitt looked out of sorts early in this game. Wake Forest came out, hit 3 of its first 4 3-pointers, and a lot of those were late switches. The guys just not being in the right spots, not understanding this. It looked like they didn't understand the scout, and that's something that they've been really good at a lot this season. Pitt has been so strong at understanding, hey, this is the guy you close out on. This is the guy you leave open for the shot so that you don't create the open lane for someone underneath. And there were so many times Pitt looked so discombobulated about that. And so maybe it's less about just perimeter defense and more about the overall scouting of what Wake Forest likes to do. In the first game, they knew you cannot have to double team Efton Reed all game because that's going to open up their 3-point shooters. And Pitt held Wake Forest to 27% from the field. That's what Pitt shot tonight 27% from deep, excuse me. That's what Pitt shot tonight from deep was 27%. Right. And so you got the flip turn of that, and Wake Forest got to bring out its strong 3-point shooting rate, and that crushed Pitt. And the problem with that was coupled with was paint. Wake Forest dominated the paint again, whereas in the last matchup, Wake Forest dominated the paint, but they didn't dominate from deep. And so Pitt was able to counter that with their own deep shooting and offensive efficiency and able to win that game. You can't lose paint points 38-10 and then also be outshot on 3-pointers 50% to 27% and hope to win games. And part of that, I think, is just the scout. No, right. It's just basic stuff right there, right? Like, it's just like that'll lead to 30-point blowouts. So I think it's overall the scout of this team wasn't paid attention to very well, which is very uncharacteristic for this Pitt team. They've been very strong in understanding team strengths and weaknesses and defending them against them.
And I think we can just agree that the ugly was this game.
Oh,
there's no need to dance around it. I mean, this is the ugliest loss of the season. I would argue, as someone who's been to every road game for the last 2 years, almost every home game as well. It's probably their ugliest loss since they lost to Michigan last year. And while, we were talking about how ACC losses around this time, you could highlight Virginia Tech. That was kind of a whooping. As in Jeff's words, Notre Dame was a very embarrassing loss for this team last year. Duke and North Carolina were bad. Syracuse was bad this year. But this was just a whole nother level because in most of those circumstances that I named, Pitt wasn't playing its best basketball. This team was playing very well heading into this game. And Wake Forest wasn't. Wake Forest had just lost 2 in a row. I said in my preview that this game meant more to Wake Forest, and boy, did they make me look smart by making that claim because they played like it meant more. One team played like its season was on the line. And if Lenardi was correct and neither of these teams could afford to lose tonight, I mean, man, only one of them played like that. And I don't know what Pitt needs to do to rectify what happened tonight. I certainly think there's not a lot of margin for error Saturday. There's not a lot of margin for error a week from today when they go to Clemson. You win those 2, you're feeling a little better. But if you lose one of those 2, you're looking at a scenario where you probably have to finish the year perfect, and you probably have to win at least one in DC. And that's not a scenario where anyone wants to be heading into March. So it was an ugly, 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 ill-timed loss.
And to your point about the timing of it is that this was like Pitt had made up for all the past transgressions of losing to Missouri, starting 1-5 in conference play. And everyone was starting to say, okay. And, if Pitt had lost this game by 10, I think this is a lot different.
Yeah,
but losing by 30, that's going, everyone's going to start, well, that was a really bad loss. And now that's going to hurt against them. But there is time to fix this. Clemson can be a good win. Virginia Tech can be a good win. And if let's say they win even 4 out of their next 5, you want to win all of these next 5 because the ACC has their chances stacked against them. Because even Wake Forest, like Joe Lunardi said before the game, Wake Forest winning or Pitt winning this game wouldn't even put them in the conversation. It would just make sure that they're staying in their positions as the next 4 or the next 4 out or the first 4 out or whatever out that they're not in because no ACC team can just make the tournament. But to the point of where Pitt's at now, I think Pitt has a place where if they can win 4 of their next 5 and win their first 2 ACC games, that might be their path in because they're going to get the first bye in the ACC tournament. If they win out, they have a chance.
Are they though? They just got passed up for that. They're the first bye. Excuse me. Sorry, it's midnight. Yeah. I thought you meant the second. I meant back-to-back buys. I was like, I don't think they are.
No. The second bye, like they need to win out and hope to get some help. Granted, Wake Forest has to play Duke in this building, so that'll be really interesting to see if they stay undefeated with that. But either way, if they're going to get at least that first bye, if they beat that team in that first bye, they're probably going to get matched up with a Duke, with a Wake Forest, with a Virginia, or North Carolina in that situation. That might become a must-win situation to make the tournament again if they win 4 of their last 5 down the stretch here. And that's what makes this loss so ugly. Again, if it's 10 points, I don't think that pressure's on them. But I think because it was a 33-point loss, I think it's very much on them. And that's a little scary after how strong they played. Can they do it? This team has shown that they can win in some very adverse situations. And I think that this might be another wake-up call. It's like, hey, you still got to keep stepping it up. And that's a challenge that Jeff Capel's given them all year long. I need more. You have to give more. You have to do more. And the team has responded to that message. Will they respond to it again? We'll find out Saturday when they play Virginia Tech at home.
They sure will. We sure will. It's going to be a big one. You'll have us covered there. And Abby Schnabel will as well. It'll be a big one for Panther fans.
A huge one indeed from Winston-Salem, where Noah Hiles is at right now. I'm Chris Carter. We're both from the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette. It's late recording this. We're gonna call it a show for now. Remember to check out Mike's Beer Bar, the best bar in all of Pittsburgh. When you go to Mike's Beer Bar, they have over 500 different available beers. 300 of those beers are local. 8 of those local beers are available on tap. They also have amazing steak on a stone deal with over 20 televisions to catch up whatever sporting event that you want to catch. Granted, wasn't a great night for Pittsburgh sports. The Penguins lost. Pitt lost. It was rough all around. Maybe you're still at Mike's Beer Bar enjoying some of those beers to drown your sorrows. But hey, there's more time for both these teams to turn it around. Stay tuned for the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette, post-gazette.com for all our written work, YouTube, and all your favorite podcasting apps for all our podcasts. We'll be back here on the Pitt Post-Game Show after Pitt takes on Virginia Tech at the Peterson Event Center, 5:30 Saturday. Stay tuned. We'll have a lot more coming your way. Thank you for checking out this content from Post-Gazette Sports. If you watch this video on YouTube, please like the video and subscribe to our channel. For all of the sports coverage the Post-Gazette has to offer, visit post-gazette.com.